Welcome into the Dynasty Happy Hour. I'm your host, Doug Eddy. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. I am James Crees, joined here with Tyler Gunther and our friend Damon, all the way from Minnesota. What's going on, bud? How are you tonight?
I am golden. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. And this is not our normal scheduled podcasting hour. This is not a regular Dynasty Happy Hour. We just figured we needed to kick it with our friend Damon and talk some ball. We're halfway through the season and it's been crazy. We got some crazy news this week about Derrick Henry missing out. He's going to be out for 8 to 10 weeks. We're going to get into that. A lot of other ups and downs for your dynasty teams. So here we are. And what better way to celebrate the halfway point by trying to get a DHH ring or a fantasy ring from fantasy. No, I screwed that up, Tyler. You want to jump in?
You know what? Let me step in. If you really want to celebrate your title, which hopefully I win some, Chef, hopefully you win some, Damon. He won the title defeating me twice in 2 weeks to take the undefeated streak away from me. So that in itself deserves a TrophySmack.com trophy and ring. It is the best place to go get your trophy or ring or even a belt. Yes, Damon and I are in a league where we have a belt. I held it 1 year. Doug's got it now. He's probably chilling at his house with it around his waist. Hopefully some clothes on because hopefully I win that baby back and I don't want to power wash that
let's
thing.
Let's just be realistic, Tyler. Doug's probably walking around in a robe like Ric Flair right now, going woo!
Just waking up the kids, just making ruckus. No, I completely agree. But no, if you use code DHH ring, you can get yourself a free $60 ring with a purchase of a trophy or a belt. And yes, they have grills now, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no reason or want for it, but hey, I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. There's loser trophies. There's a toilet bowl seat to wrap around your neck for the loser. It's great, and that's always fun. We used to do that, and I think I'm going to bring that back in a couple of leagues. So that is very fun. Once again, go to TrophySmack.com, use code DHH ring. You get yourself a free $60 ring with a purchase of a trophy.
And since I botched that one, let's re-up on it. The only way you're going to win your league is using fantasy points. So you can go to Fantasy Points and get a 10% off your subscription with our code 21DHH10. That's 21DHH10 to get 10% off of your Fantasy Points subscription. Guaranteed 90% of the subscribers make it to the playoffs. Lowest price in the industry, and they are analytic powered to win you your league. Jump in there now with Fantasy Points. And once again, use our code 21DHH10 to get 10% off of your subscription now.
Yeah. So yeah, Doug's gone. We decided to come on Wednesday because, like Chef said at the beginning, there's a ton of news that I just want to get out. I actually just want to talk football. Usually right now we're up playing Fortnite or something like that. But you know what? Let's be a little more productive with our time tonight.
Let's just be realistic. It's because all of us are at the point where we don't need to play Fortnite anymore.
That's true.
That is true.
We're at the point where we look at ourselves and are like, what did I do?
I'm in the
for that month.
I feel bad for myself sometimes. Like I really need to get a better hobby.
It's all right. And then after this, we'll probably just do it again. So.
And we were shopping around today. We were getting different ideas for different games that we should just either re-download or reinstall and play. But no, why are we going to do that with our time? We might as well come in here and talk some Dynasty Fantasy Football because that's what we love to do anyway.
Yeah. I mean, first news is Derrick Henry down with the ankle injury. I know earlier this year I had a team with Zeke and Derrick Henry and Clyde EdwardsHelaire, and I thought I was golden. And like I usually do, and I traded him away. And right now I'm actually very happy because I don't want to be stuck with a 28-year-old Derrick Henry or a 27-year-old Zeke Elliott or a Clyde EdwardsHelaire that isn't used much. But let's talk about Derrick Henry and the fact that he has a foot injury. He's that monster of a man. Is this going to kind of carry over for year to year like we've seen it with Christian McCaffrey and his lower body injuries?
It's hard to tell because Henry really hasn't been injured as much. It is a broken bone in his foot. He's going to be out most likely 8 to 10 weeks.
I didn't even know he had bones.
Yeah, I mean the guy is made out of anianthium, or what's that? What's that?
Anianthium?
I don't know what it is. The Wolverine metal, whatever that is, or whatever they build the spaceships with. The guy is
Anianthium.
yeah, anianthium. I think it is. I don't know. Anyway,
We'll disagree. We'll disagree.
Agree to disagree. No, but the guy is solid, and the fact that they didn't like really shop around. I know there wasn't a lot of time left to shop around when they got the news on this injury. Shoo.
You are really struggling to talk tonight.
Oh,
Is
God.
it because you're getting to look at my gorgeous face while I'm talking? Am I frustrating you?
That's definitely not it. But
That's definitely not it. You have a face for podcasting, as we say in the biz.
What can I say?
No, but the real truth of the story is they go out and they sign Adrian Peterson off the street. He's going to come in and do some work, but he is what, 38, 37? I think he's older than I am. And
you know what you do with robots? You just
In
oil up.
AP's defense, that guy comes out every time anybody counts him out. The guy comes in with such a chip on his shoulder, like, what, you don't think I can do this? And boom, he puts up productive numbers.
He has a microchip in his shoulder because he's not human. That's what Damon's trying to say.
Exactly. The guy is just he's a genetic freak. Like,
I get it.
They showed him practicing today, and it looked like a defensive end was practicing with the running backs. Like, that's how gigantic of a man he is. People forget how big he is. He looks like he's in fine shape, but I mean, if him and Frank Gore are going to outlive everyone in this world, and we are,
which is absolutely crazy to look back at and see the injuries that Peterson has had in his career. The fact that he still is what he is today is absolutely insane.
The best part about it, though, is when Adrian Peterson gets hurt, he can just call the tech company and just get an upgraded part for his robot figure. Like, oh, my knee's gone. I could just upgrade to the newest model. And
we have the technology. We can fix him.
We can fix him. No, I mean, being up here in Minnesota, watching him in his career, I get he had that one incident. I mean, it's all forgotten for me because he's been one of the funnest players, and like, we were extremely lucky to be able to watch him and every team he's been on fail in the playoffs constantly every single year.
He did start his career off in Minnesota, so I mean, he was destined for failure from the start.
That's true, and he's one of the first running backs to win MVP and who knows how long. And I mean, he was so close to breaking the rushing record.
But what does he do? What's he do for the Tennessee Titans? Because he's not exactly the size of Derrick Henry. No one really is, but very similar in style in the fact that he is a bigger running back. He can break through some tackles. He does have the size, and he's been chilling on the sidelines at his house watching football every Sunday. And now he's going to come in and play that Derrick Henry role.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're in a win now situation, I wouldn't mind going out and getting and spending like a third or even a late second for Adrian Peterson.
No, not a late second.
Not a second. A third. Second.
If I have to pay a late third, if I'm the Derrick Henry owner and I got outbid today for Adrian Peterson in fab bidding, I'm going ahead, and if that's going to win me my leagues because the guy's going to get 16 to 20 carries every week, I think he's going to be fantasy viable. And at this point of the season, you don't really have too much of a other option available to if you're in a win now scenario.
See, my biggest thing though, is he going to be able to produce the volume that Henry is? Are they going to be able to still run the ball as much as they were with Henry? That's the biggest thing. Is Peterson's going to come in and we know he's going to produce, but is he going to be able to produce and get the carries and the volume? Is he going to have the tank to do that for the rest of the season? Like, he's getting up there in age. And like you just said, he's been sitting around on the sidelines watching football. He hasn't been, in camps and stuff. So is this going to be the year where we see like he should have stayed retired? Like, is this the year it's going to happen? Because, you know, eventually he's going to run out of steam at some point in time. And is this the year that it's going to happen? Like, are you willing to, in a dynasty setting, are you willing to give up a second for somebody that could fall flat on their face? Like, is it worth it?
Well, you talk about running out of steam. He still runs off coal because he's an older model.
That is true.
So as long as you keep filling that coal, he'll be just fine. I mean, Derrick Henry runs off fossil fuels, so he's the newer model. But I mean, you got somebody who actually I like. I looked at a lot of the teams today, and if I didn't get Adrian Peterson, Dontrell Hilliard, who played for the Cleveland Browns, was actually my backup option because I know they have McNichols. McNichols is going through some injuries, which he always does. Hilliard was a good third down back for Cleveland. They just didn't have any room for him because, you know, Dearness Johnson, Chubb, Kareem Hunt. So my backup option was actually Hilliard, looking at it and thinking to myself, okay, if McNichols gets hurt, Hilliard steps into that third down back role. And you got him, you know, on the back burner sitting there, you know, everybody's going for AP. You spent $0 on Hilliard. And hey, you could actually have a startable player.
I mean, this isn't a startable player, but just to note, they did sign Deontay Foreman to their practice squad as well. So that's, I mean, I wish the guy never really got hurt. He just really screwed his whole career up with that. But I mean, it could happen.
He screwed up his career by getting hurt.
Yeah, it's all his fault. It's all his fault. He screwed up his career.
His stupid Achilles just bursting on the field. Speaking of Achilles, you guys see Cam Akers running around?
No. Oh,
you didn't see the video?
Yeah. He showed me the video. That's right. Very happy about that. Very happy.
He got hurt in July, and he's already going that when doctors are being like, okay, like Akers is so young that he's not going to just be like, I'm just going to do it. I don't care what doctors say. He's going to do what doctors say. And the fact that he's doing this stuff after July, his Achilles bursting in July, like, is insane to me. He could be that Adrian Peterson healing power, the next coming, because Adrian Peterson came back when it was insane to think that coming back from an ACL injury after, I think it was like 8 months, and he came back and destroyed the NFL after that ACL. And maybe Akers comes back and playoff Cam comes in, because he can come back for the playoffs, and Cam Akers comes back, and that Darrell Henderson, you know, for a first round pick you did to try to win the championship was all for nothing. So
unless you have Cam Akers,
even then, I don't know if I would do that. If I mean,
I think if Cam Akers does come back, I think he's back in the playoffs, not in your fantasy leagues.
That's what I mean. Like, he's coming back for the Rams in the playoffs.
For sure. I can see Cam Akers coming back and being healthy for 22.
Like, what he's doing is unbelievable. And yeah, if you don't have him, throw out an offer, see if you can get him. If you already have him, hang on to him. I know Chef and I have been.
We've just been scooping, man. We've been scooping.
Doug and I are in Capitalist Pigs League, and today we're texting each other like, hey, like I made a Cam Akers trade today. And he goes, hey, nice Cam Akers trade. And he goes, I'm trying for him in pigs. And I said, I am too. And he goes, no, let me do it first. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, see, I would be able to go for him if Tyler wasn't getting him in every single league that I'm in. Tyler has already scooped him up in pretty much everything that is available.
I mean, you have to go for it before anybody else jumps on it. And like, before you see the video, like, once I saw that video, I was like, okay, that reassures me that he's going to be doing something. And Kenny Gainwell was the starter, quote unquote starter, for the Eagles this past weekend. And I'm like, man, this is the time to make the move on Cam Akers. I know there was people out there that were looking at Gainwell as a potential breakout candidate with a breakout game up against the Lions. And I was like, okay, Gainwell in a second, give me Cam Akers. And it went through like clockwork, no problems, no bumps in the road, no renegotiation. It was a smash accept on the other side. No names to be mentioned. You know who you are if you're listening to this podcast. And And then Gainwell showed
Here I'm trying to think. I'm like, did I make a trade with
no,
Shaq?
no, you didn't.
I make too many where
and
it's
then
just like,
Gainwell, quote unquote, shit the bed. So that's something that
no, who quoted that? Because you said quote unquote.
quote unquote shit the bed. I didn't know if I was allowed to say that on here, so I
You just got to use finger quotes, and that's okay.
yeah, because they can all see that, right?
Yeah, exactly. We can, and that's all that matters is that
That's
we
all.
see it.
So no, it's been a crazy week. I don't really want to dig into too much detail about Henry Ruggs. It's a terrible incident. My prayers are out for the family, for the girl who's involved. Henry Ruggs is probably done. And I mean, if you have him, there's a part of me that says keep him on your taxi if you have room, because it's the NFL. We've seen players get away with murder, literally. So, I mean, would I be shocked if he gets 20 years? No. Would I be shocked if he's back in 2? No. Like, nothing would shock me without all this. The issue is we've seen, Ryan McDowell just tweeted out before I hopped on the street that it happened on, because we actually in the industry have somebody that lives like 5 minutes away from this street, and he sent a picture of the street, and it is like driving in a town, like in a small suburb. Like that's the neighborhood. He was doing 153 or 158. And it's reckless, it's stupid. You put yourself in danger. Hey, you know what? Derrick Carr came out and said they were texting with him that night. Him and I forgot who else was texting with him. Hunter Renfrow, I think, and they were talking to him about golf because he's at Top Golf. And Derek Carr was like, "Hey, if you need a ride, let me know."
Oh.
Like, and Ruggs didn't let him know. Like, and the worst part is like we're talking with Doug, and he was talking about how they probably had practice that day.
Yeah, that's right.
And
like, how can you go out that hard and be that irresponsible as a professional athlete?
Well,
knowing that you have
it is terrible that somebody passed away, but how did he not? Like, he was going so fast.
I mean, like we said, we're not going to try to get too deep into the situation.
I know that I had him in one league, and out of principle for what he did, and just because I'm a decent human being, he was dropped, and I'm not picking him up. I don't care if he comes back and somebody gets him, good on them. I'm just not going to have somebody that did that, because in my opinion, just because he's in the NFL doesn't excuse his behavior. What he did was, it ended somebody's life, and the fact that just because he's a professional athlete, he's going to possibly get to walk away last time, it's just unfair. And I dropped him because I don't want anything to do with a person like that. And that's just plain old, just how it is.
Now,
that's
back
completely
to
fair
the
too.
fantasy side of things, though, like, do we go ahead and upgrade Edwards and Renfrow because of the loss in the wide receiver room? Like, do we upgrade Zay Jones? Like, is Zay Jones worth a free pickup?
I mean, hopefully this means more 2 tight end sets, and you see more of Foster Moreau.
Shout out Doug. Loves his
that would be
tight ends.
That
Loves
would be
his Foster
great.
Moreau.
Edwards, for me, it's let's see it first. We haven't really seen it. He's been the hype man. Everybody's got that. Every time you see like a break dance, you got that guy just screaming around like the hype man. That's Braylon Edwards. He's the guy that's just hyping people around, and he's getting hyped too. It's just, I don't know. It's a weird situation. I think Hunter Renfrow is going to just be Jarvis Landry 2.0, just getting 6 for 70, and then one game has 2 touchdowns and wins you the week. But I think he's going to be consistent. He's just Mr. Consistency. He's the first one in the building, last one out. He's a lunch pail type guy, which nobody's catching on to this.
What is crazy about this scenario is the Raiders find themselves in first place in their division. They have Waller, who hasn't been performing lately, and I think it all goes back to Waller. You're going to see Waller with a very high target share. He is going to climb out of the slump that he has been in. And I can even see Josh Jacobs finally getting some passing work, which we were so off of when Kenyon Drake jumped on that team in March before the trade deadline or before the free agency deadline. And that just, I think both of those things can really do happen. Josh Jacobs will get a bump in value. Waller, I mean, he's pretty close to the ceiling for value as it is, especially in tight end premium leagues. But I mean, he will definitely start living up more to that value. That's what I think.
So my two most trade attempt for players this week have been Josh Jacobs and Clyde EdwardsHelaire, just because Clyde EdwardsHelaire, everybody's going for Derrick Gore, who honestly, like Frank Gore, we are on to you. It's you. Like we know it's you, Frank. You just changed your
hey Frank. Hey,
you went from Frank to Derrick. Come on, choose a different first name. I mean,
choose a different last name. I mean, you could have been Frank 4.
Done Frank 4. Grank 4.
Grank 4.
But no, Clyde EdwardsHelaire's like he's eligible to come back if he can, if he shows that he's healthy enough. And my guess he's back by week 10. And if what we've seen from the Chiefs offense is, hey, they need Clyde EdwardsHelaire involved more. If you have a running back that can pass catch and he runs the ball decently, I'm not going to say well, I'll say decently. If he can run the ball decently and catch the ball, I mean, you've got a dual threat weapon back there that you took in the first round that you need more than ever right now, and it's showing. So Clyde EdwardsHelaire, I think on the cheap is a good move, and Josh Jacobs, forgotten. I mean, the footballers, Chef, you and me listen to him daily. Mm-hmm. They even brought him up saying, he's been quite good when he's getting the touches. So if you can, and not with our stamp of approval, the footballer stamp of approval, that's who you should go with.
Now, here's a quick question for the people that are listening to this podcast, because we mentioned Cam Akers.
Are you three listening?
Yeah, I'm listening right now. I listen. No, I don't listen. I subscribe. That's it.
You subscribe? Okay.
That's pretty much it too. I don't need to listen to you guys talk any more than I already have to.
Yeah, right. A week, 40 hours a week that we talk.
Damon gets the private lessons in Dynasty and the
true
bickering
story.
Back and forth.
He gets the one-on-one. He is the solid platinum level on our Patreon account.
He doesn't even pay.
We'll put it this way: Tyler and Doug are kind of mom and dad, and sometimes we have to listen to mom and dad fight with each other.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's family
Over
matters.
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. All you got to do is mention Kyle Pitts' name. But seriously, on a real note, we mentioned Cam Akers, and we mentioned CEH. Now they're both buy lows right now. Who are you going after more? And I think Cam Akers to me is a little bit more obtainable than a CEH, knowing that he's going to be back this season with still a question mark around Cam Akers for those that are in your dynasty leagues that haven't seen the video that we saw yesterday on Twitter.
I mean, if it's me, my number one's Javonte. The rest of the season, Javonte is my number one trade target. He's going to be low the rest of the season. Melvin Gordon, unless he gets hurt, is going to be splitting carries. So yeah, like Javonte is going to stay low, and yeah, like the other running backs we mentioned.
I heard a little bit of something on Melvin Gordon today, and if this is like off the record kind of stuff because I don't know the source, but a friend of another analyst on Twitter told him that he was the realtor, or Melvin Gordon moved into his condo building or his apartment, and that Melvin Gordon specifically asked for a 4-month lease because he knows he's not going to be on the Denver Broncos next year.
I think everybody knows that, Chef. I mean,
and my reply was, let me finish. My reply was that we all knew that back in April when they drafted Javonte Williams.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah. I mean, everybody and their mother knew that Javonte was going to be the guy.
It's not news. There's no breaking news button here.
The best part about it is Javonte just turned 21. So when you're sitting there thinking, oh God, Javonte, he's a year in, he's not a rookie anymore. Running backs don't last long. Javonte's still super young. lots of tread in the tires. He's going to dominate that Broncos backfield for years to come, which makes Damon quite happy probably because he's a
Yes, it
Broncos fan,
does.
everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Broncos fan that lives in Minnesota.
Hey, I'm a Falcons fan, lives in Minnesota.
Why
There's a
not
trend
Vikings,
here.
guys? Why not Vikings?
There's a trend.
Are you guys
I mean,
like London? Like everybody's a different fan in London?
It's honestly because we've been hurt so much that we're just like, okay, we need a first team and then Vikings can kind of be our backup.
I'm always rooting, like, don't get me wrong. I always root for the Vikings. I love the Vikings, but I am so used to them disappointing me that I need somebody that's going to give me a little hope and faith.
Fair enough.
And then the Broncos go and trade Von Miller and break my heart into 1,000 pieces this week.
When you get a second and a third for a withering away player, and all you have to do is pay the $9.5 million for a second and a third, that I would take every day. And
I know, but
it's almost it's not as good as Mohamed Sanu to Patriots for a second, Doug. I'm talking about you, but that was easily the best trade for a second. But this is a great deal for the Broncos.
It is, but at the same time, as a fan, it's just hard to watch somebody walk away like that. It's
like
just
Julio,
hard.
like Julio.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep, it's just that slap in the face where you're just like,
Elway's just smiling from earlobe to earlobe.
He's always smiling from earlobe to earlobe. He can't help but smile. His face is stuck that way.
Wishing for a carrot.
In other news this week, Jameis Winston out for the season, torn ACL. And now there's whispers of him not even being the starter in 2022. They have Trevor Siemian. They have Taysom Hill. They also have Ian Book, who they drafted late.
Nope.
But he's been a healthy scratch every single week this year.
Nope. It was a waste of a 4th round pick. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and I've seen Ian Book play plenty of times, and I have closed my eyes watching this man play plenty of times. And we're talking about non-conference teams, like teams that don't even belong to a conference. And I'm closing my eyes. Like, Ian Book is not it. He will never be it. It was a waste of a 4th round pick. I think they just needed to draft one, and they had 4 picks this year. And I just felt like they're like, oh, well, we need to take one of these guys. And they just took one. So
did I hear you say Trevor Siemian in that?
Yeah,
Trevor Siemian in the league.
I would rather play Trevor Siemian than I think than Taysom Hill, to be honest.
But the thing is, you say Trevor Siemian. Remember when he played for your Denver? Broncos?
That's why
I thought about giving him a big contract because he played well.
I know, but at the same time,
so did Brock Osweiler at one point.
Oh, that is true.
If there's one thing we got to know is Damon. I know
who is the worst Denver Broncos quarterback in the past 10 years.
Paxton Lynch, not even close.
I was just going to say Paxton Lynch without a shadow of a doubt.
I mean, Cecil Lammey for the Audible talked about Paxton Lynch and how he had no want to learn the playbook. All he did was want to play Call of Duty, which, I mean, we can all we're all bobbing around.
We're not getting. I would play my ass off and learn that playbook if I was going to be getting paid as much money as I was going to be making, though. Too.
Yes, and the worst part is, Damon, I don't know if you knew this, but the Broncos were going to take Dak Prescott very early if they missed out on Paxton Lynch. Cecil Lammey brought that up, how their next favorite quarterback to take was Dak, and they would have taken him in the 3rd. But the Cowboys got him in the early 4th round pick. So yeah, that's harsh when they decided to trade up. I think they trade up for Paxton, but I mean Dallas.
So you're out on Ian Book. You're out on Trevor Siemian.
They're going to be in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes like everybody.
Fair enough.
I think that'd be a great fit. I don't think there's too many. I'm thinking there's not going to be too many problems with Deshaun Watson by the time the trade rumors start sparking up again. But I mean, we could kind of move on to that as well. I mean, we learned that Watson's the lawyer who was actually helping out the 22 cases said that there's been plea deals talked about, And it seems like they're progressing forward, but he wants to get this solved as well, but he's taking his time. He's not going to rush anything, and he's quote unquote helping these women. And so yeah, I do think things get solved. I would not be shocked if he's suspended for 4 or 6 games, but Watson will be on a different team for sure next year. And yeah, if
Maybe
it's
he'll
the
be
Saints
paired up with Michael Thomas
in Miami.
in
Probably.
Miami.
I mean, it would not shock me because Michael Thomas, it seems like from what I read from his Calvin Ridley response, it seems like it's not only the injury. It seems like it's also mental health with Thomas. He's kind of in a rut as well. And that could be a good segue to move on to our next news about Calvin Ridley.
Oh, yeah, there's Calvin Ridley. Yeah, I mean, he's not the first player this year to step out with mental health issues to take care of, and Tyler just walks away when we're talking about the Falcons. But
I just traded for Ridley, so
I mean, he's a nice target right now. I mean, you could probably get him on the inexpensive side. He's definitely lost some value due to this, but we've seen other players come back. I mean, as long as it's not a physical impairment, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't go out and try to acquire Calvin Ridley right now. I mean, that's the best scenario I can see in my eyes, like as far as top end wide receiver.
The only issue is you see it as a mental standpoint, and we've seen like great players like Kelvin Johnson go out because it's just the mental wear and tear. I think for him it was more body, but
Andrew Luck, wasn't it?
Andrew Luck was body, but also mental. He just didn't want to do the grind every year. And I think with Ridley, for me, I stated this a couple of times, and for me, if I feel like Hayden Hurst had a big part in this. Hayden Hurst, he's a big person in the mental awareness community. He like leads the NFL awareness for mental awareness. And for me, if he was not in that locker room, I feel like Ridley would still just kind of play it through. He'd probably just keep fighting, keep playing it through. But I think having Hayden Hurst in that locker room probably told him like, hey man, get yourself right. Like, go get yourself right, make yourself better. And I'm good with that. Like, get yourself good. You're still young. He's going to be 27, I think, in December 20th is his birthday. So he's going to be 27, which is older, but it's not that old for the kind of player he is. He's an Antonio Brown type player that could play until his mid-30s. The issue for me that kind of gives me a little worry is he's in a contract. Like, he's playing for a contract. He's playing for that money. He's in his 4th year. I think they gave him his 5th year option. And he's playing for the bag. And if he's able to walk away from that and kind of be like, hey, I'd rather be right than make 18, 20 million a year, like, that says a lot. And if that's in the back of my head a little bit, like, hey, if he's able to walk away from that, he might be able to walk away from it all together. Like, maybe he just doesn't love football as much. And maybe this time away will bring it back. There's a part of me that thinks Julio Jones also is a big part of this. Julio Jones is a great locker room guy. They've said it in Tennessee already, how great he is in the locker room. Missing that leadership could be a huge aspect, and maybe Ridley is struggling and stepping up into that role.
And you're talking about leadership. Matt Ryan is on the end of his career. Maybe Calvin Ridley in the back of his mind is thinking, hey, maybe I shouldn't put my body at risk while there is no promise of me winning a championship with this franchise in my foreseeable future. Am I going to?
We're coming back. All right, we're good.
I mean, yeah, Kyle Pitts. The moves that were supposed to be made. I mean, Kyle Pitts was a great grab by you guys early in the draft this year. He is going to be spectacular. But it wasn't enough. It's not enough to win a championship this year with Matt Ryan. I'm sorry. It's just not. You guys don't have a running back capable of handling that kind of a workload to besides Cordarrelle Patterson. Come on. Like, he may have been good for fantasy purposes, but they're not winning ball games. Sorry.
No, I mean, no offense taken. Their defense is getting a little better, but no, they're not. They never were a championship caliber team. Pitts wasn't going to help them. If they had Julio, maybe I could have seen that. But the second they traded Julio, it kind of showed their hand. And they kind of tied their hands behind their back by giving Matt Ryan that extension. I mean, he's making, I think, $45 million. Like, his cap hit's 45 or so.
Totally not worth it.
And it's ridiculous. Like, for me, people say we should have drafted Fields. Personally, I think Fields needed time. Maybe playing behind Matt Ryan would have worked, but oh man, like it's tough. And Fields or Pitts, I think you can go either way. I think Pitts is going to be a amazing player throughout his career. But when you don't have a quarterback, and I do think Atlanta's going to go into this draft hoping they land on one, but this class is not great. Next year's class still is not great. Say they get even the first pick next year. They get Bryce Young. He's got questions. Bryce Young from Alabama's 5'10". I mean, we're talking Kyler type size, and he's still got, he's not as thick as Kyler, which is weird to say because Kyler's still a slight frame man. And so yeah, it's just, I mean, maybe they maybe they snag like a Rattler next draft in like the second, and he turns out. But I think they need to get a refresh at quarterback. Matt Ryan, he's playing his butt off. Like, I got to give him props. I've seen him play hard, but that only gets you so far. And you can tell his arm talent's kind of fading away. He's not able to throw it deep as much.
He's the Big Ben of the South.
Yeah, I mean, he's not able to move around. He moves better than Big Ben, which is saying like, hey, I can move faster than a rock. So that is not saying much. But I mean, honest to God, if it's week 14 and we're not anything, I want Josh Rosen to play. As weird as that sounds, Josh Rosen played quite well in the preseason. After we picked him up, Rosen came out and threw quite well. He's still young. He's still got good talent. It's just his stupid mental better than everybody.
I
attitude.
don't know if Josh Rosen even has a chance to be the answer for the Atlanta Falcons.
Felipe Franks.
I'd rather give Felipe Franks a shot.
6'7", 230. Dude's a beast and can run. Like he's what did somebody say? He's Herbert Vick. He's got the size of Herbert and can run like Vick. I mean, if Matt Ryan, who can't move around, isn't doing it, and I mean, if Matt Ryan would have got his right hand stepped on, you'd be talking about Josh Rosen as the biggest pickup in Superflex leagues right now, which, if anybody hasn't done it yet, if you're in a Superflex league and Josh Rosen is available, go get him, because Matt Ryan is getting slapped around behind that offensive line. And hey, if you can land on a diamond in the rough, that value goes up. And what do I always do? I flip value.
In the rough, more like cubic zirconium in the rough.
That's true. Yeah,
I don't even know like if he's worth that. Like maybe like a little piece of sequence, like from a shiny shirt.
You say that, but I'm in a league where I'm rebuilding, and I picked up Cooper Rush. I picked up Mike White at least 4 weeks ago, and I picked up who's the other quarterback I picked up? I already had Taylor Heineke. I have Colt McCoy because Kyler's getting hurt, so I'm picking up all these backup quarterbacks
just to get by.
Hey, if I can get a 4th round, 3rd round pick for these guys, that's a shot in the dark in the rookie draft that I can just take.
Kyler's sniffing for the desperation playoff run guys that are willing to give up draft picks for.
I got that fishing pole up. I got the dollar on the line.
It's not a bad thing. I mean, Josh Rosen on the line doesn't sound very good, but I mean, it could be worse.
But what
you could have Cam Newton, who's not playing anywhere.
People thought Tannehill was toast. People thought Tannehill was toast. People thought Mariota was the guy. And what happens? Tannehill comes in and is outstanding for Tennessee. Arthur Smith, I think, is actually good with quarterbacks when they can actually play well.
With Rosen, I think the biggest thing is like Tyler was saying, if you can get that guy out of his own head and thinking he's the greatest thing in the world, maybe if you can humble his ass up a little bit, maybe then he'll actually be able to be manageable to where he'd be worth it. But that arrogance of him is what's gonna drag him down.
Yeah, I mean, right when you found out he had a hot tub in his college dorm room, you kind of figured he's that guy. So yeah, Chef, do we got any other news that you wanna talk about?
I don't think so. We pretty much covered it. I don't know how we wound up on Josh Rosen.
I mean,
But
we're just, I mean, in this time of the year, especially in Superflex League, you just want to make sure you have your butt covered, because if you lose a quarterback, which we've seen, like Kyler might not play this week, Dak didn't play last week, and thank goodness for me picking up Cooper Rush, because I mean he saved me in a couple leagues. I actually got a 4th rounder for him in a league because somebody had Dak and was like, "Hey, I'm panicking. I need something." I'm like, "Okay, just
Well, let's
throw
just
me a
look at
pick."
Doug's team. He's been just
Yeah.
struggling to pick up anybody off the waiver wires he can, because he's losing quarterbacks left each week. It seems like Doug's down another quarterback,
that
and
brings
that's
up a
a
good
super
point.
flex league.
So for a super flex league, normally, I play usually like a 32-man roster.
Yeah.
I like to roster at least 3 starting quarterbacks if possible. But what's your preference, Tyler, on how many quarterbacks you like to keep on your roster during the year? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it as many as possible? Because I've seen guys load up with 5, 6 quarterbacks, but the rest of their team is like, eh.
So people talk about handcuffs and running backs, and if, say, I have an often injured quarterback or an older quarterback, I will actually take their backup. Dak, give me Cooper Rush, Kyler, like Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley is a name that nobody knows about. But the second Lamar Jackson goes down, Tyler Huntley will be the biggest pickup in Superflex leagues, and I own him in almost every Superflex league, because the second he goes down, they're just going to kind of slide him into that role. They're not going to make him throw as much, but he's going to run more, and he can run more. I mean, we saw it in the preseason. Huntley was the best quarterback in preseason, and people are like, oh man, this guy should start for other teams. So when you see that out of a quarterback, that is the type of player that you want, a guy that with high upside in case of injuries. I mean, guys like that, like a Rosen, like I mentioned.
What about
Even,
Jordan Love? We haven't talked about
I
Jordan
mean,
Love. We didn't
if you
mention
did,
Aaron Rodgers, and we are going to see Jordan Love this week. Like, is this his time? Is this his chance to step up and show
we don't
everybody
even.
what he's got?
So what people don't know is Rodgers could be suspended for this. Like, he's made
Interesting.
major rule breaking things. He went in, asked for kind of I'm untouchable for COVID because I got a treatment that was not getting the shot, the
So
vaccination.
he didn't follow protocol.
He didn't follow protocols, and he's been caught with no mask in the locker room in the facility, which is against the rules.
Ooh.
If that happens, like, he asked the league and said, hey, is this stuff that he got, like some weird treatment? He just was like, okay, like the NFL's like, no, you can't do that. That isn't okay. Rodgers was like, okay, I'm still going to do it. Like, he pretty much gave the birds to the NFL, and that, like, this high of a figure, especially with COVID, the NFL is in kind of a sticky situation. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to take the last year's MVP and suspend him? Or are you going to and show the world like, hey, we are trying to fight against COVID? Or are you going to just let it slide just for tickets for playoffs or so?
Well, the
Ooh.
reason why I think that this is going to be bigger is because this is bigger than football right now. You're talking about COVID, and look at what COVID has done to the world. Look at what it did to last year's season. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be bigger than that. And the fact that they have somebody as big as him, if they really want to be able to do something, they're going to make an example out of Aaron Rodgers for not following their protocols. He thinks he's Mr. Untouchable, and because of this, there's no way he can get around this, because the NFL is going to be they're going to be crapped on majorly if they give him a pass for this, because the world has been fighting, us as a country have been fighting this for so long. And then this guy breaks protocol left and right, and then he thinks he's just going to walk on the field. It's not going to happen. He's gone for a while.
He's out for at least 10 days regardless. All right, we saw players last year, Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, all be affected by this, quarterbacks in particular. And he's going to be out. So we get to see Jordan Love this week. We may get to see him past this week, which I don't know how to feel about Devontae Adams. I don't know how to feel about Aaron Jones. We talked about this in the offseason when there was a chance that Rodgers was going to move off of Green Bay. Now we are going to see it in full force regardless.
I mean, for me personally, I think if Jordan Love shows out and this Rodgers issue keeps going on, this could be Love's team from here on out. That's what people don't realize. So, like you're talking about with quarterbacks, if you can go out and trade for him pretty cheap, like a second-round pick, that is money in the bank, because he for sure is starting for this team next year. That's the thing. Like, Rodgers wants out. They had a mutual agreement that Rodgers is done after this year. So it's Jordan Love's team. So for a second, you're getting a starter in 2022. But what people don't think about is this could be Rodgers' last straw. Like,
this is the turning point. This may be the turning point we've been waiting for.
If Jordan Love does come out and dominates, this is the typical Green Bay fashion that Damon and I have had to go through year in and year out, or like every decade and decade out, is, they're not having Favre. This Rodgers guy can't do anything. Oh, Rodgers comes in and is one of the best quarterbacks. Here we go. Rodgers for freaking 16 years. Now Rodgers is done. What is it going to be? Is it Jordan Love coming in for another 16? If it is, you just hit gold and you've got a great starter for years and years. And LaFleur's offense and Jordan Love, we've seen Zach Wilson fail, but Dan Orlovsky even said, like, this offense isn't that difficult to run. If you run it right, it runs. Like, it's a fine-tuned machine. If you can read the manual and run it right, it's going to work. So this offense is kind of foolproof, and as long as the driver of it is doing things right, it's going to succeed.
Well, I don't think Jordan Love is a comparable driver to Aaron Rodgers, but the simple fact is, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, especially A.J. Dillon, I think the offense runs through the ground, and those two players you can definitely bet on.
That's how you run, on the ground.
Oh, I just fell off my dinosaur. That hurt. Thanks, Tyler. Always kicking me while I'm running on the ground. When I'm down. But no, I think AJ Dillon is definitely a guy that may have lost some value during this year, because Aaron Rodgers, it was on the field and he did not get the start. Aaron Jones came back. I think Dillon could be somebody that you can use. We saw him get 16 carries last game, and I think there's more to come. I think it's only the beginning before Aaron Jones turns into more of a receiving back and AJ Dillon takes the brunt of the work on the ground. And both of those values, we see AJ Dillon's value go up and we see Aaron Jones' value stay about the same. I think he's still that elusive pass catching back that we all have seen him to be. But yeah, as far as the wide receivers go, I don't want any part of those Green Bay wide receivers.
So I was just going to ask you, who do you think is the most valuable of Green Bay's wide receivers? Because I have a couple of them due to injuries, and it's just like every other week, it's like, who do you start?
For me, it's
no one
Alan
except
Lazard.
No one except for Adams in my eyes.
Alan Lazard looks like a different player to me. He
I had to
just came off
start
injury.
Cobb last week in a league, and it actually paid off.
Hey, I started Cobb last week because I had to add a necessity. Rather, I was trying to fit in that necessarily, but it didn't work.
Words are hard.
Yeah, words on podcasts.
So Alan Lazard, to me, he looks more spry. He's a big dude. He's 6'5", but he seems to be moving better this year as long as he can stay healthy. I think him and Rodgers, like Rodgers really likes Lazard, but if it's not Rodgers, for me, it could be Amari Rodgers. I mean, him and Jordan Love had a great chemistry this preseason. So Jordan Love could actually turn to the person who's playing with him on the second team, and that's Amari Rodgers, who, in my opinion, is also a huge buy because Cobb's gone after this year.
Yeah.
And Cobb is learning from pretty much his clone Cobb is teaching his clone in Amari Rodgers. So, yeah, I mean, Amari Rodgers is another buy. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, LaFleur and Shanahan's offense is the same. People are all hyped up on Trey Lance. Tell me the difference between Trey Lance and Jordan Love, except for probably Trey Lance is a better runner. I don't think there's much of a difference because Jordan Love in the combine, when I watched him and Herbert had probably the best throwing motion, in my opinion. The ball came out smoothly. I mean, Jordan Love works with Jordan Palmer in the offseason, and we all know what those type of quarterbacks turn into. Palmer does magic with quarterbacks. He did it with Josh Allen. He did it with Herbert. And I mean, what's not to say Jordan Love isn't next. So for me, Jordan Love is a massive trade target. Green Bay seems to just turn, like they always seem to be a good team no matter what. And for me, I think Jordan Love is a smash buy low right now.
Nice. I can agree with that.
Yeah, I could agree with that. The only thing there is I just hope that for Green Bay's sake that they start within the next couple of years in the draft, that they actually start working on offensive weapons, because they
That's
really
not gonna
do.
happen. What if they do? Like that's the thing. Like Rodgers leaves. That's the time when they draft receivers in the first round. Like this first round draft class is going to be massive with receivers. This receiver class is great.
Rodgers is going to be so mad.
But you know what? He's going to be living the dream in either Pittsburgh or Denver when they've got a slew of receivers. I mean, you got
or New Orleans.
Denver, my boy Jerry Jeudy came back this week.
Jerry Jeudy. I mean,
he's off the IR this week.
He's just knocking the rust off. He went 4 for I think 39.
Yeah, so they haven't been playing very good this past ever since they went through the first couple easy games, and then all of a sudden
they're still trying to wash that Drew Lock off of them when he had to come in and start. They're still trying to power wash that off their team.
It's the conversations you and I have had before that it's pretty bad when you can see how bad Drew Lock is by them playing an injured Teddy. Like they would rather have a half Bridgewater than a full Lock, and that just goes to show how pathetic he is.
Half a bridge rather than Lock.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That's gonna actually do it for tonight. We will end the podcast. It's been good. Damon, thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you like every single night, which we'll probably be talking here in like 10 minutes anyways. Yeah, everybody, thanks for joining in. I really appreciate it. We just did a quick Wednesday night. We're going to be back on Sunday with Doug Eddy before he goes on his cruise. Then he's going to be Cruise Eddy. Cruise Eddy. He was Pool Eddy in the summer. He's Cruise Eddy coming up soon. You guys, it's coming up. We're coming to playoff time. And right now is the best time to look at your dynasty teams and decide if you're going to make it or if you're faking it. Go make those trades. Either way, you got to go because trades can push you either way. No matter what, those 2022 picks may be undervalued now because people don't look at the class as highly. That's wrong. Picks always gain value. They never lose value. That's the best part about them. And hey, if you're going to win the championship, there's nothing better, especially when you get a trophy from TrophySmack.com. Once again, DHH ring for a free $60 ring. Go get it now. We will see you on Sunday. See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.